G'day ladies and gentlemen, Scotty D here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome back for another installment in our For the New Guy series. Alrighty ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ATW, and with myself Scotty D for another installment in our For the New Guy series, where we're continuing our look at the detachments within the Tyranid Codex and seeing what they have available if you are wanting to start a Tyranid army. Now, as I mentioned in our previous installment, unfortunately Jake is not joining us for the Tyranid faction. He will be joining us for the next faction, so it's unfortunate to be doing these without him, but you know, he's more than happy for me to get these ones through, go through the Tyranids with you guys so that we're able to keep things going and get more factions done this year, as I really like to get through a lot of factions as we are in the third year of 10th edition. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's video, I want to thank everyone who has been subscribing over here on YouTube, those who've been commenting, liking, engaging with us. Really appreciate you guys continually coming back and watching the content that we create here at the HWN, whether it is the For the New Guy series or maybe it's for, you know, our tournament coverage or how to play Warhammer 40k 10th edition if you're just getting into the game, and all the content in between. Thank you so much for joining us, and now we're going to jump into talking about the next detachment of Tyranids, which is the Synaptic Nexus detachment. Basically, the Synaptic Nexus detachment is as it sounds. It's very heavily focused on synapse units, and there are certain keys in this one that will benefit having a lot of synapse units in your list compared to not having a lot. So you wanted to make sure you're taking units like warriors, hive tyrants, any other synapse characters, but also other synapse units you have available to you, which is going to be really cool. I'm really excited to go through this detachment with you guys, because, you know, it's one of the ones that does see a little bit of play, but not as much as, say, what Invasion Fleet or some of the other ones do at the moment. So, to jump on in, we're going to start off with the Detachment Rule for Synaptic Nexus, which is called Synaptic Imperatives. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the following Synaptic Imperatives once per game to be active for your army, and units within Synapse range gain the benefit of them. So if you didn't catch any of the army rules that we covered in the previous video, please make sure to go and watch that video. It'll give you the full overview of the army rules. But basically, Synapse is an aura emitted from Synapse units that have the Synapse keyword, and basically units within that range are considered to be within Synapse range and get various benefits, which include these for this detachment. The first one is Synaptic Augmentation, which is a 5-up invulnerable save. Really nice. Second one is Surging Vitality, which is +1 to advance and charge rolls. So really good if you're wanting to go combat focused. And then Goaded to Slaughter is melee attacks get +1 a hit. So +1 hit on melee is pretty nice when you have a lot of units in combat. So really can be quite useful. I do quite like the 5-up invulnerable save and the +1 to advance and charge. Really strong there. I think it's going to be, those two are the ones that typically get used a lot. Goaded to Slaughter is kind of depending on your list build, so that's something to bear in mind. When we come to the enhancements, we got 4 as per usual. The first one is Power of the Hive Mind. It is a Psyker model only, so bear that in mind. They get +1 strength and an additional -1 AP on their psychic weapons, so you've got to have a psychic weapon to be able to gain the benefit of that, but psychic weapons are a bit interesting, so you may find a use for this, say for example on a Neuro Tyrant. Just depends on what you are running in your list. Next up, you've got Psychostatic Disruption. This is a Synapse model only. Reserves can't be set up within 12 inches of the bearer. Really strong straight off the rip. Additionally, once per battle, during battle rounds 1 or 2, when an opponent declares a unit will arrive from strategic reserves, you can use this enhancement on a D6. When you roll it, if you get a 4-up, that unit can't arrive, which is really strong. So it's basically going, no, you can't bring in that unit from strat reserves this turn. It's really good when you want to disrupt your opponent's plans. Next up is Synaptic Control. Synapse model only, -1 damage made against the bearer. That one's really good, particularly on maybe some of your bigger bugs, something like a Tervagon or a Hive Tyrant, something along those lines. Then you've got the Dirge Heart of Karis, which is an aura enhancement. Synapse model only. Enemy units within 9 inches are at -1 leadership. So that's really good, particularly if you want to add that on top of, say, a Neuro Tyrant in your list. You can get to -2 leadership and really do some fun stuff with the Shadows of the Warp army ability. And when you pop that off, that can be really helpful. So some really good tools here. I definitely think that Psychostatic Disruption and Synaptic Control are probably the two strongest ones in this detachment. I would say the Dirge Heart and Power of the Hive Mind, it's flavor to taste at that point, but I'd definitely say probably the Dirge Heart beats Power of the Hive Mind, in my personal opinion. But definitely let me know if you think differently, if you're a veteran Tyranid player. Let me know down in the comments. As always, if I get anything wrong, I'm not a Tyranid player, so feel free to correct me down in the comments. And if you are watching and you feel like I got something wrong, leave a comment. Or if you're a newer player, check the comments as well, just in case there are things that I do get wrong as well. All right, going to jump into stratagems now. And first up, we've got the Smothering Shadow. It's 1 CP. In any phase, just after an enemy unit has failed a battle shock check, select one Synapse unit from your army that's within 12 inches of it. You rolled 6d6, and for each 3+ you get, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. Quite nice. It's basically a grenade, but it's on a 3+ instead of a 4+, and you've got to be within 12 rather than 8. So it is pretty good. It is pretty good in my opinion. I think it's good to use to finish something off or even soften something before you shoot at it. So there's quite some good play with that stratagem. Next up, we've got Synaptic Channeling for 1 CP. In your command phase, you select a Synapse unit from your army. Its Synapse range is increased to 9 inches until the end of the turn. So again, instead of an enhancement, this time we've actually got a stratagem for it. We talked a bit about it in the Invasion Fleet, but if you put it on something like a Hive Tyrant or something that's got a big base, you can actually extend their Synapse range to 20+ inches in diameter, which can be really important with what you are trying to do in a turn. So 1 CP rather than paying an enhancement, yeah, I think it's good expenditure, particularly if you can use it for free with a Hive Tyrant in your list. So there's something else to keep in mind. Next up, we come to Irresistible Will for 1 CP. So during your shooting phase or the fight phase, select one Synapse unit that hasn't been selected to shoot or fight this phase, and an enemy unit that is within 24 inches and visible to that Synapse unit. Until the end of the phase, friendly Tyranid units that are within Synapse range that target that enemy unit reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. This is a really good strat because some of your Tyranid units might be hitting on 3s. They might be hitting on 4s or 5s. So to be able to help them with this and give them rerolls, I think is great. I think it's a really strong stratagem, and you're probably going to make use of this one a fair amount. Next up, you've got Reinforced Hive Node. For 1 CP, during your opponent's shooting or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected a target, one Synapse unit that was targeted by 1 or more attacks, reduce the AP of any attacks from the attacking unit by 1. So basically, it is a what we call Armor Contempt style stratagem, which has now been FAQ'd to basically be like, cool, it's now just for that activation. So that's something to bear in mind. So you get a little bit less benefit from this one. So yeah, but it's still good when you need it most. Next up, you've got Imperative Dominance. 1 CP. During your command phase, select one Tyranid unit that is in Synapse range from your army. It gains one of the Synaptic Imperatives until the start of your next command phase instead of any other Synaptic Imperative that is active, even if the chosen Synaptic Imperative has already been used in this game. So that's really strong. It allows you to flex into something and replace the current one if there is. Basically, very similar to what we talked about with Gladius for Space Marines. It's very similar in terms of how it works. Really strong to be able to give a unit +1 advance and charge rolls if you need to make sure it gets into combat, or to give something a 5+ invulnerable save is really strong as well, or something that's already in combat to be doing +1 attacks as well to really ensure they kill something. So yeah, quite a good stratagem there. Then you've got Override Instincts for 1 CP. During your movement phase, select one Tyranid unit within Synapse range and has made a fallback move this phase. It can shoot and charge. So really, fallback, shoot and charge for 1 CP for a Tyranid unit within Synapse range. A little niche, a little conditional, but it's really strong. Particularly if you have the +1 to charge rolls up and you need to pull a unit out of combat to make the best use of that. Really, really good in my opinion to combo that. But also 1 CP, it's not too expensive to use, which I like about all of these stratagems. They're all 1 CP. There's no 2 CP costs in here, so you can use a lot of these for free, and so you can get a lot more benefit. Say, for example, you've got a Hive Tyrant in your list. So overall, I think it's a really strong stratagem suite that you have access to. And, you know, you've got some good uses here for these guys. All right. Now we're going to jump into the 1,000-point list that I've created for Synaptic Nexus, which we start off and we've got Death Leaper. Now, Death Leaper can't be the Warlord in this detachment, but it's good to be aware of what he does. So, he has got fights first. He's an infiltrator. He's got lone op, which means he can't be shot from outside of 12 inches. Infiltrate, what it means is you can deploy in no man's land as long as he's 9 inches away from any enemy units or your opponent's deployment zone. He's got stealth, so -1 to hit, even if you are shooting at him when you're within 12. He has the Synapse ability, but he is not a Synapse character. Bear that in mind. And he does have precision on his melee attacks. He puts out 6 attacks, hitting on 2s at strength 7 -2 damage. Now, he does have a few abilities here. He's got a 4-up invulnerable save. Each time he kills an enemy character model, you gain a CP, which is really good. He cannot, specifically, he calls out, you cannot have him as your Warlord. There is a caveat to that we'll cover in a future video, though. Bear that in mind. And then he's got the Fear of the Unseen, which is an aura. While an enemy is within 6 inches of this model, their leadership characteristic is reduced by 1. And in the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if such an enemy is below starting strength, they have to take a battle shock. So bear that in mind, that positioning this guy is super important. He's okay. He's got, 7 wounds at T6 with a 3-up save and a 4-up invulnerable. So it's going to take a fair bit to put him down. Particularly once you get within 12, you're still -1 hit. He's a bit of a beast in combat. So yeah, really, really good to just have something in the midfield that's going to be really tough to deal with. Then we have got the Tervagon. Now, this guy is your Warlord. He does have the Synaptic Control enhancement, where any attacks that are allocated against him are -1 damage, which is really good. You need that on the Tervagon. Even though it's 16 wounds at T11 with a 2-up save, still -1 damage just adds to his durability. Now, of course, you can equip different weapons to any of these units. Do it as you see fit if you have options for those units as well. What he does have is that he spawns Termagants. In your command phase, you can select a friendly Termagant unit within 6 inches and return up to D3+3 destroyed Termagant models to that unit. A Termagant unit can't be selected for this ability once per phase. So you can't have 2 Termagants in a list and just respawn a single unit of 20. You've got to have multiple units. Now, he does have the Brood Progenitor Aura Psychic ability. Whilst friendly Termagants within 6 inches of this model, ranged weapons have lethal hits. So that's really good for your Termagants. Of course, he can get bracketed when he's down to 5 or less wounds. He's at -1 to hit. And then he does also have Deadly Demise D6, Shadow in the Warp, and Synapse abilities. And he's also a Synapse creature. So that's really important for Synaptic Nexus. Bear that in mind, because he emanates the aura. So you could target him, increase his Synapse range to 9 inches, which is really important. Then we come to some of the smaller units. We've got 10 Hormagaunts in there. Advance and charge on the Hormagaunts, which is really nice. So +1 advance and +1 to charge rolls make these guys really be able to strike far when you want to get them in combat. The Termagants, we have got a 20-man, and basically they are going to sit next to the Tervagon and get that lethal hits. They're going to put out a ton of shots and just try and get crits on 6s and just try and do a whole bunch of damage through that way, and they're going to be really hard to shift. We've then got an Exocrine. We covered an Exocrine in the previous video. Basically, it's a damage-dealing shooting unit that is very tough to deal with. So bear that in mind. Next up, we do have the Maleceptor. Now, this is a newer unit, so I am going to cover it. So this one's more close combat and psychic. He's toughness 11 with 14 wounds with a 3-up save with a 4-up invulnerable save as well. And in combat, he can either do a sweep or a strike attack. The sweep is 6 attacks hitting on 3s at strength 7 -1 2 damage, so a marine killer profile. Or the strike attacks, which is just 3 attacks hitting on 3s at strength 9 -2 but D6 +1 damage. They're able to do a lot of damage. He does also have a psychic attack that is blast, so it can get additional hits depending on the size of the unit it's targeting. For D6 +3 shots at 18-inch range, it is hitting on 3s at strength 10 -2 3 damage though, so a Terminator killer profile basically. So really strong. It can do quite a lot of damage, both shooting and combat, but it's not like a lot of attacks, it's more quality of attacks. He does have the Encephalic Diffusion psychic ability, which is an aura. Whilst an enemy is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, -1 to hit, the enemy unit is below half strength, they're -1 to wound as well. So that's really important, particularly when they try and kill this guy in combat. -1 to hit, -1 to wound is really important. Then the other one, of course, it can get bracketed. So it's -1 to hit if it's got 5 wounds or less. And then it's Deadly Demise D3. It is a Synapse creature, so bear that in mind. It is a big Synapse creature, so it's got a large base, so it'll have a larger aura. And yeah, it's really solid. I quite like the Maliceptor in the detachment. Can do quite well, in my opinion. Next up, we come to the Morlock. Now, the Morlock is a really interesting one. So basically, this guy sits in strat reserves and can come in using the Terrors of the Deep ability. So it does have Deep Strike. So when you set it up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, you roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches. On a 2 to 4, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 5+, they just suffer 3 mortal wounds and must take a Battle Shock test, which is kind of big. Because this guy is toughness 10, 3 up, save 14 wounds. It is not a Synapse creature, but it does do some decent damage in close combat. Its jaw is only a single attack that hits on 3, strength 5, no AP, but it's 3 damage. It's anti-infantry 4 up, dev wounds, and it is an extra attack. So it can, do a lot of damage to infantry and just pick one up on a 4 up. Doesn't matter, just flat 3 damage. And then the Morlock Scything Talons, though, 16 attacks, hitting on 3s at strength 8, -2, 1 damage. So you can do a decent amount of damage with this guy. He's not, anything amazing, but it's the whole Terror of the Deep ability coming up, doing those mortals, causing battle shocks for a lot of enemy units within 12 inches. You've just got to find the right pocket for him to come up in, which is really important. It's going to be a lot easier in 1,000 points compared to 2,000 points, which is why I think is a good take. Plus, giving him the 5-up invulnerable save is really good because he doesn't have a invulnerable save. He's just got his toughness and wounds to keep him around. But then giving him +1 attacks or +1 advance and charge can be really helpful for this guy as well. Then we also have the Neurolictor, which I'm not going to cover off again. If you want to find out a bit more, make sure to watch the Invasion Fleet detachment video, and we kind of go through what this guy does. So the list itself comes to 995 points, just shy of 1,000, but really quite solid. In terms of it, you've got some small Grizzlies, you've got some bigger stuff, and it's quite different to the Invasion Fleet in terms of some of the units we've taken. So when we come to the cost of this army list, it's kind of in the same cost area as what the Invasion Fleet list was, and basically we're going to go through this. As per usual, we've got the GW price, not in brackets. We've got online retailers, secondhand, your local game store might have this price in the brackets as well. So first off, we've got Death Leaper. He's $105, or you can get him for $83 online. You got a Tervagon, which is $109, or if you find him secondhand, you could be finding them as cheap as $87. And that's brand new in box as well. Secondhand marketplace, if you buy them assembled or new on sprue, might be a little bit lower, but yeah. 10 Hormagaunts, which are $86 for the 10, or you can get them for $68. The cheapest online is what I could find, that is at $68. Then you got 2 boxes of 10 Termagaunts, which also come with a Ripper Swarm each. I did forget to add that to the list. They're $86 as well, times 2, or they're $68 online. Then you've got your Exocrine, which is $115. It is a direct order product, so you could only be saving 5% depending on the retail you go through, or your local store might be able to get it in. Maybe they got 10%. So you could get it a little bit cheaper than $110, but sometimes, it's going to be close to the GW cost through some retailers. You've then got a Maliceptor, exact same price as the Exocrine, $115 from GW or $110 otherwise. You got the Morlock, which is $120 from GW or $114 through online retailers. You might be able to find a cheaper secondhand as well. And then Neurolictor coming in at $74 or $59 online. So total coming in is $878 direct from GW if you decide to purchase this army. Or if you use online retailers, you can get it down to just over $750 at $753. This is all in Australian dollars as well, by the way, so make sure to check your local currencies and stuff as well. So on the whole, Synaptic Nexus, it's really good. I think it synergizes quite well when you're taking a lot of Synapse units. Being able to give an army-wide 5-up invulnerable save on a key turn is going to be really good. You can set up for the go turn. Maybe you don't really do that well with the go turn, and then you go, okay, cool. I'm actually going to use my 5-up invulnerable save that turn to protect my units a bit more. because maybe my advance and charge turn didn't go as well as I hoped it would, things like that. So you've got a lot of flexibility. The enhancement's pretty good. I think overall, it's probably something I would rate kind of the second best detachment out of the ones we're looking at, compared to Invasion Fleet and some of the other ones that are kicking around. Obviously, we're not going to cover every single Tyranid detachment because they've got like 9 of them now. We're only going to cover about half of them. So still really good. I still think they're in a good spot and still definitely have some use and some utility to play with. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap us up for this installment in our For the New Guys series. I hope you did enjoy this video. Again, if you're an experienced Tyranid player and you have any feedback about what I got wrong, any of your own thoughts, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit it with a like. And if you want to catch more of our For the New Guys content or any of the other content we create here at the ATWN, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell so you're notified as to when we are releasing more content over here on YouTube. Now, if you do want to catch us most weeks where we're doing hobbying sessions or tournament previews, feel free to head over to Twitch as well. Follow us at the Australis TWN channel, where I will be doing hobbying sessions a couple of times a week, or that's where we do our live tournament previews as well, when we are talking about the tournament coverage that we do over here on the YouTube side as well. And a massive shout out to all of our financial supporters who do support us here at the ATWN, whether you're a Twitch subscriber, whether you're a YouTube member, or whether you're a Ko-Fi member as well. Your financial support allows us to cover our costs as a business and then reinvest what we have remaining back into being able to improve our equipment, to improve the level of quality of our tournament coverage that we do for the Australian Warhammer 40k tournament scene. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.